Everyone told me I was crazy when I said AI automations would be dead by the end of 2025. It's just an $11 billion industry, and I have moved on to a $17.5 trillion untapped market, which I don't see anybody talking about. And this is an absolute treasure trove. And this is how I plan to make millions over the next few years, completely revolutionizing the service-based industry. Okay, so what we'll cover is the $17.5 trillion market and how AI will affect this market. I don't see anyone talking about this. And then this sounds a little bit extreme, but how every single agency in the future will have its own AI SaaS. It will become an AI native company. Then we'll move into what I am calling the new model of AI service agency and how to actually make money from this. So let's get straight into it. There's an $11 billion market in AI automation. And AI automation, as some of you may be familiar, is automating manual tasks of businesses. For example, website chatbots or receptionist agents. And this is using stuff like RAG, so retrieval augmented generation. So there's like a big database, and then AI or this system will pull into it and then give it to somebody else in like a form of a chatbot or receptionist. Also, AI automation involves repetitive tasks, etc. However, even though this industry is really young, this is tiny compared to the next market, which is not even the final one, which, if we reveal here, is the $408 billion software as a service market. And this involves stuff like CRM tools, project management, communication, file storage. And basically, there are loads of different companies within this. For example, many of you may have heard of inside of the CRM category would be companies like HubSpot, Salesforce, etc. In terms of communication, WhatsApp, Zoom, project management would be Microsoft Teams or Google Drive, etc. Same with file storage, marketing automations like MailChimp, all of these kinds of softwares. But this is just a billion-dollar industry. Now, what is this massive whale which AI is about to absolutely disrupt? And this is the $17.5 trillion service industry. And this consists of so many different, these are just some examples of the legal sector, consulting, education, financial, and finance is a massive $1 trillion market within this. So it's got banking, it's got insurance, we've got also outside of that healthcare, information technology, and this is just the scratching of the surface of it. There's so much within it. Now, as some of you may be familiar with the making money online space, there's the information technology, which is basically could be included stuff like managed service providers, but more commonly known as the digital agencies, such as lead gen agencies, social media marketing agencies, etc. And all of this is inside of here. Now, by no means am I saying there's no overlaps between these different sections. What I could say actually is the AI automation is basically just using a bunch of software as a service tools. So this could actually go inside of this industry. And then these two could then go inside somewhere of this industry. For example, their banking apps, financial apps, all of this stuff. So this is sort of the full bubble, which software as a service and AI automation encompass it, but every single part of this will be completely revolutionized by AI. Thinking about the financial service, AI online banking. Thinking about the digital agency space, AI agencies, and this is what we'll get into. So moving on to here, the digital/creative agency sector is worth 900 billion, which is far greater than AI automation currently. And this consists of stuff like SEO agencies, graphic design, web design, social media marketing, and there's so much more. Social media marketing agencies have a market cap of 27 billion in 2025, predicted to hit 124 billion by 2030. Now, same with lead gen agencies having a market cap of 5.6 billion, predicted to hit 32 billion by 2030, and etc. from here. But this is where the complete change will happen. And this is a prediction I have bet all my chips on in terms of AI development. As we all know, AI is the future and AI will revolutionize every single industry. But what I really think is every single agency will become an AI company. And now what does that mean? In terms, they will basically have their own SaaS, software as a service. So every single agency will have their own software. And this will explain a little bit about what I was talking about. So this is common in the software design space about a front end and a back end. So actually, I was taking apart my car the other day, and we were taking out the CD player. This CD player where you plug in the CD and then you press all the buttons to like rewind, forward it, etc., pause, different radio stations, etc. But the actual thing happening to process this CD is what's happening behind the surface, which is this big box, which is basically the back end, if you would like to say, in terms of software development. And the front end is the interface where you press all the buttons and stuff. And this is what I think the agency model will be like in the future. Agencies will be the front end, and then different tools like SaaS tools will be the back end. And then we'll link them together. So the agency plus the like creative spices or the unique flair of an agency will be baked into the front end. And then that will link over to the back end. And the back end will basically process all of those tools and process everything, and then bring it back to the front, and the front end will present it to the end customer. This is sort of a little analogy, this is all I could think of at the time, of what I think this model will be like in the future. So let me give you some examples. I've actually got a good friend who is running one of the most successful music agencies in the UK, and it's got billions and billions of views. This music agency produces music for big brands, but this is going to be completely shattered by AI. So the AI tools which are coming out are able to produce absolutely studio level quality music in a matter of seconds. And on top of that, it's able to do it without having artists. It's basically completely shattering his industry. And therefore, is exactly why I'm saying his company basically needs to become an AI software company. Meaning, his music agency, let's call it Music Agency Y, plus their unique spices which make them unique and appeal to their customers, plus an AI tool. And this AI tool is like the music ChatGPT, basically, where you type in a prompt and it will produce like whatever you type. And I've tried it out myself. I've played music for the last 11 years. I still play jazz, saxophone, and piano. And the quality of the output of music from this software, Suno, is almost on par with actual live jazz musicians. And it's only going to get better. So that's why I'm saying we're riding the wave upwards. This is the future. If you're hedging your bets on a music design agency or music agency, then you're hedging your bets downwards. If you're hedging your bets on Suno, you're hedging your bets upwards, just the way the industry is progressing. So what I'm saying is Music Agency Y plus Suno, so the front end Music Agency Y, which is the front end where you press all the buttons, plus the back end, which is like where the CD actually gets processed, equals Music Agency Y Studio. And it will be this agency was made basically their own software as a service, which will be Music Agency Y Studio, utilizing Suno to produce it in the back end, but not telling the customer it's produced by Suno, but it's saying it's produced by our studio, and it's able to produce results so much quicker than what they would have to do by getting actual musicians. Also far more effectively and able to iterate super rapidly. Also then reducing the marginal costs for running a business like this. Then we can say the exact same thing with a web design agency, let's say. Where there's a web design agency and then tools like Lovable, Bolt, Cursor, Claude Code, etc. All these tools basically can just produce a website, and they're getting better and better and better. Every single time a new AI model comes out, they get better. And it's matching the performance of premium web design agencies. So if web design agencies have their unique flavor and have their unique spice, what makes them unique, then mix that with tools like Lovable, Bolt, etc., and then combine it. That is the web design Y Studio. And that is basically the model I'm talking about. The front end plus the back end. The agency is the front end. The back end is like one of these tools. Let's give one more example. Lead gen agency. This is actually the field that I've been running my business in. And this is exactly the model I've adapted it completely towards. Is lead gen agency. They basically use Apollo, Clay, loads of different tools to get the leads. And then they package it up. And then if they're doing cold email automation, they would do stuff like Instantly, Smart Lead, etc. Then they would package Lead Gen Agency Y, whatever is unique about them, the copy of their cold email, the way they outreach, the way they gather the leads, the research they do, all of that stuff is unique to Lead Gen Y. But then they have on the back end the tools which actually fulfill it, turn it into some kind of software where the client can interact with like a software basis or like a membership basis, or all of this we'll discuss, but all of this is up to the company's demand. But eventually it turns into an AI software. And then it becomes lead gen, acquisition, system Y, etc. Same with clipping. Already there's Opus Clips, which does it. So a clipping agency, what has their unique flair plus Opus Clips makes clipping agency Studio Y. This happens with SMMA, SEO agencies. Every single agency under the sun will follow a model like this, I believe. And that moves on to it solving that biggest bottleneck of any agency. And having interacted and having met loads of agency owners and having run an agency myself, I think this model solves the biggest pain point of an agency, which is the marginal cost. So say, for example, an agency can only handle a certain amount of customers. But say, for example, if they want to scale, they would have to hire more people to fulfill the demand. They would have to either increase their prices and stuff like this. And this is where software as a service companies absolutely excel, because they can have thousands of users. Now, this is a mixture of both worlds. Service-based companies, agencies, are able to take a note from the playbook of software companies and mix the two. So basically, the marginal cost is so much lower. Therefore, they can either charge cheaper for their products and services and have long-term incentives like revenue shares, equity plays, like what we do, or they can basically just make much, much larger margins. And if they're producing to the same level of quality that they're already producing, if not higher, then there's an absolute no-brainer of using an AI service. And what I actually want to call this model is an AI service agency model. So ASA, if you want to call it. But this model is basically everything I've spoken about before, turning every single agency into a SaaS company. And a little bit about how this would actually work and how do we build it out. So I've been building this out for the last year. And before that, I had an agency. And this is combining everything, which is no one is talking about this. This is going to disrupt the service-based industry over the next few years. Every agency will turn into a SaaS company, is what I'm saying. So I will show you, if you want, in more detail, how to build the front end, how to build the back end. The front end basically is what you build out. Work with the agency to build it out together. So let's say music design agency Y Studio. You work with that company to see what their aesthetic is, what their vibe is, what kind of stuff they like, what kind of stuff do their clients ask them for, understand all about their company. Then build that front end for it. So if you've never written a line of code, this is perfect, because I'll teach you all about how to write stuff or how to build out softwares without ever having any coding experience and being able to deploy it, connect it to backends. All of this stuff can be done completely with AI. And there are tools like Claude Code, Cursor, etc., which handle all of this stuff, and all you have to do is just prompt it with your vision. And that's where, as somebody who runs an AI service agency, is their expertise on how to utilize these tools, how to prompt these tools correctly, how to link up all the tools together. So this is far, far more advanced than an AI automation agency, and therefore has far, far greater returns than any kind of AI automation agency. And then we would build the interface. So for example, it could be super, super simple, like what ChatGPT has with a voice interface, where you talk to the bot, or what Perplexity has, where you can literally speak to it, it gives you answers back, etc. You could basically speak to a music design agency, for example, and say, I would like a song in this style, XYZ, that does so-and-so. Do it for that artist I'm working with here. They're looking to produce something for a big company here, for example. And then it will go out, do all the research, and because it's trained on Music Studio Y's, all preferences and likes and unique flavoring, then it will produce an output which is up to their level, and then therefore it will give it back to you via voice interface or WhatsApp or however would be easiest. Or we could have another approach where you can actually have video calls with an AI. And that video call is super realistic. I'd urge anyone to try it out. Basically allows them to have a conversation like it'd be with a voice assistant, but see that person there. That person can bring up articles, can bring up stuff on the screen, share screens, etc. So it basically takes out the need for actually having online meetings. And you're having an online meeting with an AI. Now, the back end side of it, so the front end is exactly what needs to be built. The back end is already being built by companies like Suno, 11 Labs, Arcads, Descript, Lovable, etc. All of these tools apply for all different niches. There are tons of these tools, and I'll show you exactly how to find it. Now, those tools will then need to link with the front end which you've created, and that's where NA10 or some kind of automation tool comes into play, where it links the tools up together and basically turns it into a unified SaaS platform. Now, this is the architecture which I said. So the front end and the backend and the interface would be like user-friendly up to the unique flavorings of that agency. And this will turn every single agency into an AI SaaS company. And this is inevitable. Every single company will have to make this transition, and this is just the progression of the future. So this is exactly what I've hedged all my bets on, and this is what we've been doing for the last year. And we've been working with enterprise clients all the way to small startups and everywhere in between. We've been building out exact systems like this for lead generation. And for example, stuff like, for this client, for example, a commercial solar developer, their biggest bottleneck was getting leads, getting people in front of them. So we were able to find out what the biggest bottleneck in doing so, which was understanding what the energy output of a specific facility would be. And then we built out systems, basically exactly what I was talking about, which analyzes a building, plots solar panels, does all the calculations, and then does cold email outreach with all of those calculations in play. If you want to know exactly what this does, I'll do another video. The next video after this actually will be completely covering all of this. And then we outreach to them, and this has much higher reply rates because it's tailored information, etc. Now this is just one. We've done this across the board for data center companies, MSPs, ERPs, all of these kinds of companies. We focused on lead generation, opportunity generation was the biggest bottleneck that everyone was facing. We decided to focus it with this AI service agency approach. And just as shown by here, the biggest bottlenecks were 61% struggled with lead generation, 53% burnt half their budget on leads, 68% can't scale effectively, and 85% desperately want more leads. That's why we built out a system which does this and tackles all of this end to end, generating them more leads. We didn't invent the whole infrastructure of sending cold emails. There were other softwares that did that, but we utilized all of these softwares and pulled them all together into an interface where it's much cheaper, easier for us to manage, but also produces much higher returns and allows us to have much higher margins, and then therefore take investment in terms of revenue share. And because this model is beautifully placed with the direct correlation of growth of a company, it allows us to then therefore place revenue share bets and equity plays to allow us to profit in the long term. So instead of charging 10K, 20K monthly just to retain our services like most agencies, we're able to charge much, much less, but have a much higher incentive, rev share, and then therefore sustain it for the long term. So whatever business model, this is the future of agencies. And this is what I've hedged all my bets on, and this is how we plan to become a multi-million-pound company. And this is a new AI service agency model. So if you want to actually find out more what we've done and everything we've done behind the scenes, then check out our website just to see some of the case studies. For example, all of the videos are up there to understand exactly how we've done all of our stuff. If any of this was valuable and you wanted to learn how to actually build out systems like this, then check the free newsletter below. I'll be posting all of the updates on exactly the technical specifications on how to build out stuff like this. Please comment, let me know what you'd like to see, and hope this was of value.